When you're cornering, is it better to brake or is it better to lift? On this lap, I can use the brakes for the necessary corners, and on this lap, I'm not allowed to use the brakes, so I'll only lift off the gas pedal in some corners. So as we start the laps, turns 1, 2 and 3 are flat out, and the line we take on each lap are pretty much identical, nothing in between them through the first 3 corners. We're now approaching the first lifting point on both laps. You can't take this fast right-handed flat out, otherwise you'll slide too much, so a slight lift will ensure your kart is stable as you go through the first right and then the second right-hander. Keep your foot pin to the floor as we flick it to the left, coming to our next lifting point, which starts just at the curb. The idea is to use the curb to slow the kart down and help you with rotation, so you can flick the kart to the left and lay the power back down, maximizing your exit speed as we get onto the back straight. We're going to be building up a lot of speed over here, heading downhill towards the first hairpin turn, and this requires braking on the left hand side. As we brake deep into the corner, initiate some rotation, and I'm barely having to turn my steering wheel because I'm using the brakes to turn for me. In contrast, on the right hand side, look at how much I'm having to turn my steering wheel because I'm carrying a lot of entry speed, and that's caused my kart to slide excessively, lose its momentum, and be completely off the apex point. Look on the left hand side how much more I'm able to go over the blue and white curb, whereas on the right hand side I'm completely off it. Now on exit of the corner, the braking lap is pulling ahead because it has higher revs, whereas the right hand side on the lifting lap, we're still building it back up. And this trend is going to continue for the second hairpin turn. Look at how much I have to turn the steering wheel on the lifting lap just to slow the go-kart down and rotate it, whereas on the left hand side, on the braking lap, I'm using the brakes to turn my kart, and this allows me to rotate the kart much better, and look how much more of the curb I'm able to take at the hairpin. This will once again contribute towards me getting a much better exit, and by the time we reach the red line on the braking lap, we're more than half a second ahead than the lifting lap. We're approaching the final braking point of the lap for the tight right-hander. Watch on the left-hand side, I tap the brakes, minimal steering input. I've already slowed the kart down, whereas on the right-hand side, I'm struggling to rotate the kart, having to put excessive steering input in, and that's going to hinder me because I'm sliding through this corner excessively, and this has destroyed all of my revs and my momentum, which is crucial for this final sector because the rest of the lap is all flat out. You need to have the best possible exit out that right-hander and carry that speed with you all the way to the finish line. Although the lines you're seeing over here are pretty much identical, the time was lost on the lifting lap at the entry of the right-hander because I carried too much entry speed and then I was sliding the kart, which lost all of my revs. As we approach the finish line, my best lap with braking was 1:04.804. My best lap with lifting was 1:05.964. The moral of this experiment is that you cannot drive every single corner using one fixed technique. Every corner is different, and it's your duty as a driver to experiment what the best technique is at your track for each corner, and you use overdriving or excessive sliding to gauge the limit. So at my track, I discovered that at the hairpin turns, you can't take them flat out and you can't lift. Otherwise, I'd be sliding excessively and lose my revs, so I knew I had to brake for these corners. On the other hand, for this right-hander, if I brake, I was losing too much time on entry, and if I take it flat out, I would be sliding too much, so I'd lose time on exit. So the sweet spot was just to lift early in this corner and lay the power back down gradually, which gave me a more stable run. Similarly, for this left-hander, I found that lifting early was the sweet spot, and if I rode the curb on the right-hand side, it actually helped me with rotating the kart, which was an added bonus. And finally, for turns 1, 2 and 3, I discovered you can take these corners absolutely flat out as long as you're leaning your body enough. And you've got to lean your body to the outside, so you're loading the outside tires with more grip. And at high speed, especially when you're trying to go flat out, this will help the kart grip better. You'll notice I'm able to take these corners by barely turning my steering wheel, keeping it as neutral as possible. The key is to experiment what works best at your go-kart track with the different corners that you have. There's a range of possibilities to experiment with, but just remember, if you're sliding excessively, if you hear the revs of your engine die at the corner, or if it's electric karts and your kart is almost stopping, that means you're overdriving. You've found the limit, which probably means you're carrying too much entry speed. Think about smooth driving with minimal steering input, keeping the revs as high as possible. That is the golden rule in rental karting. Now, if you want to learn how to improve your karting skills and lap times, you can join the KTips Academy for free and learn with our free resources. But until the next video, guys, I'll see you next time.